time for a CBJ in 30 short shift. Here's Bob McElligott.
Okay, so here's the deal. I mean, this day has already started off badly for me personally, and I guess indirectly for you too, because today I'm going to do this CBJ in 30 short shift, still being brought to you by Ohio Credit Union, where they have been putting people above profit since 1934, where they've been taking care of their members, where you can find out if being a member is something that's going to benefit you, find out if you're doing the best with your money. You can do all of that by going online to telhio.org, or you can stop by a local Telhio branch office. Telhio Credit Union is open to everyone in central and southwestern Ohio, and they are federally insured by NCUA. So there you go. We're going to do that, but the short shift means it's not going to go the normal 30 minutes today. And I'm irritated, I'm bothered, because there are times that there are things that are beyond your control, right? I mean, there are things that happen that you have no control over, and that's already happened to me today. I had a great conversation with John Tortorella after the morning skate today here in Arizona. Great conversation, lots of information from Torts. And I got done with the conversation to find that half of it didn't record. And I just hate that. And I know I've been having an issue here, and it's been something slight in the recording process and whatever, I don't know, something between the microphone that's plugged into an adapter that's plugged into the phone, all this stuff. Somewhere along the way there is a bug. Somewhere between the microphone and the phone that records it. There's a bug in there somewhere. And the thing is, sometimes you're recording stuff and you can tell that it's not recording. And other times you can't. It all depends upon what the technical glitch is. Well, I couldn't tell, obviously. So I lost half of that interview. And it sucks because it was really good stuff. Really good stuff about Zach Werenski. And I'll tell you about it, and you'll just have to take my word for it. But I'll play you what I have. I'll play you the half that I have with John Tortorella, the Blue Jackets head coach, when I caught up with him after today's morning skate prior to tonight's game against the Arizona Coyotes.
Torch, how nice was it yesterday to have a day off where everybody's away from the rink and you come off a win so you could actually enjoy it in small groups?
Yeah, it's always good, especially when you come into this type of trip. You really try to get them a good day off to enjoy some of the weather. I mean, these guys are human beings. They do have other parts of their life, and I think they need to get away from the game. Win or lose the other night, they were going to have today off. I think it was an important time to get it. I think the third period they felt pretty good about themselves. Driving to the airport after the game, it was a lively bus. Remember, they hadn't won in over 2 weeks with the break and all. So yeah, so it was good for them, and hopefully it'll rejuvenate them a little bit, and we'll start the game the proper way tonight.
You know, we talk about tools that you have as a coach to motivate players. How much is that knowing there's a day off work for you as a coach still?
Yeah, I you know what, Bobby? I've never used a day off as punishment. I shouldn't say that. There are certain situations where, we're coming to work, but you try to stay away from that because I think it's wrong. We give our team a day off not to reward them either. It's basically to take care of their body, so there are different things you do. Remember, now in the league, I have to give our schedule to the league with days off in them. I think we have to give them 4 a month, and you can't take them away. No matter, there are certain times, I say I don't use them as a punishment. I wouldn't say I want to take one off, a couple of them this year. I was just so mad I wanted to get them back to work the next day. Can't do it. So you got to really be careful when you do your schedule to make sure you're picking the right days. I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but that's what it is.
No, it does. I mean, they knew they had the day off, and everybody wants to feel good on the day off, right? So you get to that third period of a tie game. You just scored a goal late in the second period. Yeah. I would imagine that's a nice little carrot for you.
Yeah, I liked the way 19-5 in shots. I thought we really played downhill in the third period. It's such a, you just never know. It's such a contrast on how we played the first two. But yeah, they should feel good about the third period. I'm just hoping they bring that into tonight's game.
We talked about Pierre Luc Dubois 2 days ago, and you told me that he was tired and you're working with him to get past that mentally. He goes out and he has 2 goals. And I'll tell you what, I haven't been as impressed by an empty net goal in quite some time. Like, I'm ready to call an icing call. When Werenski throws the puck up the ice, I figure it's icing. You're coming back for a face-off. Not only does he win the race, but gets into position on the defenseman to put the puck in the net. So when you put that all together, you've talked to him to get through that. You watch that game. How promising is that for you?
Yeah, and I do. Luke and I, like he told me after, he says, I like talking to you sometimes, and I think
How many guys have told you that in your career?
Yeah, not too many. But for him, and he has told me this a couple of times. I remember his first year that he wants to be able to have the conversation. And we talked about a lot of different things in our conversation. We talked for over a half hour the other day, his dad and all those things. So you got to remember how young he is and how much has been heaped on him. So, and you don't have to remember. I certainly have to remember because I'm his coach. So you want so much all the time, every day. And sometimes it's just not in the cards for some of the youth on our club. So, I think that helped. But I just think it just kind of cleared his head. I know you can tell he's a thinker, and he brings the game home with him. I think if he just tries to refresh his head without thinking about the game all the time, I think it'll help him. So hopefully put that into action.
All right, Torch, thanks. Good luck.
Okay, Bobby.
Okay, so at least I got the part about Pierre Luc Dubois in. That part recorded, and you were able to hear it. And I'm glad, because I think that's a really important part of what's going on with Pierre Luc Dubois. The fact that Torch just talked to him the other day about making sure that he doesn't get mentally tired, that he gets through the physical tiredness by thinking his way through it and all that stuff. And then he went out and he had a really good game, 2-goal performance in Colorado against the Avalanche. So it's huge for him. And just think of what the Blue Jackets have in this particular player. This guy is 20, and he's got 21 goals. The next point that he gets will set a new career high for him in the National Hockey League. Last year, he got, so how many points does he have? He has 21 and, anyway, whatever. It's right in front of me, for crying out loud. For crying out loud, it's right in front of me, and I'm forgetting what I'm doing. 48 points. 48 points in 52 games. 21 and 27 goals and assists. Last year, he had, to finish the year, he had 20 and 28. So he is where he was last year at the end right now with 48 points. And there's still 30 games left on the schedule. So just wrap your head around that for a minute about how good this guy is eventually going to be. He's already good. He can be great. He can be that prototypical number one centerman that every team in the NHL covets. Not wants, covets. To me, covets is even more than want. It is a really bad desire. And they're going to have that guy. They already have that guy. And he's just going to get better and better. Now, the Werenski stuff. I asked Torts earlier in the year, you were on Zach about his defense. And in the game the other night, I didn't really notice him at all. And I mean that kind of as a compliment. And I say kind of because the biggest part of his game, his biggest strength, I guess, is the offense that he brings from the blue line. And we haven't seen a lot of that. He assisted on the empty net goal, yes. But he also did other good things. Like there was one point in the game where, and this was in the third period, there was pressure inside of the Blue Jacket zone. He got the puck. He was under duress. There was 2 guys coming after him, putting the heat on him. And he just calmly took the puck off the backhand, cleared it off the glass, and out to the neutral zone. A little play. Just a little play. But a little play with huge results. It forced the Avalanche to have to go back and tag up in the neutral zone and come back in. They didn't get great pressure, and it was because of that little play by Zach Werenski. So I asked Torts, where's his game right now? And he said he's really pleased with the way he is playing defense. But he is also trying to get him to get back to being that offensive threat from the blue line. And that is, not only is it the strength of his game, but how much is that going to help the Blue Jackets with the secondary scoring? Because for months, the secondary scoring was Zach Werenski and Seth Jones. Not so much the forwards. That's changing a little bit, and hopefully it continues to change. But he would like to see Zach get back to a more offensive game. Rightfully so. I get that. The other thing, I asked him about Oliver Bjorkstrand, Josh Anderson, Alexander Wenberg. Whether Panarin stays or goes by the trade deadline, my question was, how important is it for these guys to pick up the scoring? And he said, absolutely. He said, I'm not even thinking about anything that has to do with bread. Thinking about these guys, they all had a nice game, but it's not about one game. It's about consistency and doing it night in and night out. And he feels that Bjorkstrand's been doing that for about a dozen games. He's really happy with his game, really happy with his play. And that's great because I think he is that guy with the most potential, quite honestly. I really do think he is. If he could just snap it all into place and be a sniper, he can be a really big offensive threat for this team. So he's happy with those guys. He just wants to see it on a more regular basis. Talked to Josh Anderson this morning about forechecking. I said to him, you have the goal that you get, it comes because you guys on your line, you're forechecking really hard. And even though they know that's supposed to be their game, sometimes I think it's helpful to get the goal as a reminder. Oh, yes, this is what happens if you do your job. And he agreed with that, absolutely. He also said it was great to have Boone Jenner back after missing only 2 games because, listen, Boone Jenner in many regards is the straw that stirs the drink. And that is especially true on that line. If Boone Jenner's not running all over the place in the middle of that line, then, the wingers have nobody to feed off of. He really sets the tone on that line. So Josh was happy to have him back, and rightfully so. And Jenner was really big in the face-off wins, and he's going to have to continue that because Brandon Dubinsky has left. The injury that has been nagging him, he's going to have looked at and see where he is with it. So Boone Jenner is going to have to win more face-offs. Riley Nash is going to have to win more face-offs. Everybody. Again, it's that shared responsibility the Blue Jackets are going to have to bring on a regular basis. And tonight they've got to bring it against an Arizona team that just was on the road playing games, tough games, Dallas, Nashville, and now they're back home here tonight. They come into this game with 51 points, and they are under 500 at home. They're 9-12-3 on home ice. You look at this roster for the Arizona Coyotes, and it's a funny thing to me. It's a funny thing because there's some names on here that it's like, remember the original Major League movie, the first one, with the grounds crew and all the people around town, and they looked at the spring training roster, and it was like, who are these guys? That's kind of what Arizona is like. I mean, there are names that are very recognizable. Nicholas Hjalmarsson was one of those names. Alex Galchenyuk, he got dealt here from Montreal this summer. Derek Stepan was a longtime New York Ranger before coming here. Alex Goligoski, he's been around. Kevin Connaughton if you're a Blue Jackets fan because he spent time with the Blue Jackets. But once you get beyond that, I mean, there's some like Jacob Chikrin, a young player. Clayton Keller, young player. Jordan Wheel, former Flyer. Richard Panik was a former Lightning and then Blackhawks player. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's another recognizable one. He's the main man on this team. But Nick Cousins, Christian Fisher. Remember Christian Fisher? I know his name because he scored a hat trick against the Blue Jackets earlier in the season on a Tuesday night at Nationwide Arena. Josh Archibald, Ilya Lyubushkin. Who are these guys? Well, I'll tell you who they are. They are a hard-working group of hockey players. That's who they are, and that's what they are. This is a team that really takes on the persona of its coach, and the coach here is Rick Tocchet. And Rick Tocchet, when he played, was no nonsense, in your face, grind it out, gritty, fight if you have to, work. That's what he did as a player. And that's what this team does. I don't care what their record is. I don't care what they've done recently. I just told you. Earlier in the year, they were at Nationwide Arena. What happened? They embarrassed the Blue Jackets in their own building. Embarrassed them on that night. Well, it's revenge time, in my opinion. That's what this mindset should be tonight. Revenge time against this team. Get a win. Get a big win. Guarantee yourself 4 out of a possible 6 on this road trip. Then whatever happens in Vegas happens. Who cares? Well, not who cares, but you know what I'm saying. You can stomach losing in Vegas if you win tonight. If you take 4 out of 6 on the road on a tough trip against the West, 2 time zones out, if you can do that, then you can live with yourself. If you get all 6 points, you do cartwheels all the way home. But if you drop this one and then you drop one on Saturday, now it's a sickening taste in your mouth. Okay? So this is important. You need the win. But I would also like to see them get the win convincingly tonight, just to kind of get a little bit of revenge for what happened earlier in the year, which was self-inflicted by the Blue Jackets because they were not ready to play that night. I understand. So they got to be ready tonight. That's the other thing I asked Torts about the importance of the first period of tonight's game, especially coming off a performance in Colorado where he said they weren't good in the first 2 periods. They finally got it together in the third. So I said to him, how important is the first period tonight to pick up where you left off 2 nights ago? And he told me I was reading his mind because he just went over the same thing with the team in the meeting before they went on the ice for the morning skate. So there you go. See how long I've worked with him? See, I know how he thinks. I can predict his every move. No, I can't do that. I cannot do that. But again, it's common sense, no-brainer, right? Pick up where you left off the other night. Get going early. Get a lead early. Let's make it by more than 1 goal. How would that be? That'd be nice. And then see what happens. I would say let the chips fall where they may, but that's Saturday's game in Vegas. That's when the chips will be falling. All right, who's the leader on this team in points? It is the young Clayton Keller. 11 goals, 26 assists for 37 points. After that, they have a lot of guys that are in the 20s in points. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's got 27. 20 of those are assists, and he's a defenseman. That makes plenty of sense. You've got Galchenyuk's got 26 points. He's only got 9 goals. You have Derek Stepan's got 24 points with 11 goals as part of that. Richard Panik has 22 points, 10 of those goals. And Vinny Hinostroza has 20 points, 9 goals, 11 assists. A lot of minuses on this team, though. A lot of minuses. Minus 10, minus 17, minus 15, minus 16. So they're vulnerable. The potential is there to take full advantage of this team tonight. And that's what the Blue Jackets must do. Sergei Bobrovsky will make the start. Again, there's a common sense no-brainer. I said it the other day. I'll say it again. I think Korpisalo has a hard time getting in net, with the exception of whenever the next back-to-back is, or if Sergei Bobrovsky gets dealt. I think that's when you'll see Korpisalo again. I think right now you've got to go with your top guy. As long as he's your top guy, you go with your top guy. You find a way to get into the playoffs. Find a way. Tort says it all the time, and that's what the game plan is once again for tonight. All right? Tonight's game gets underway at, 9 o'clock? 9 o'clock Eastern time is when the Blue Jackets and the Coyotes will drop the puck. Pre-game coverage starts at 8:45 on the Blue Jackets radio network, and tonight in Columbus will be on CD 102.5, so make a note of that. Also, you can get the game by using your phone on the Blue Jackets app or the TuneIn app, and you can get it on your computer by going to BlueJackets.com. It is just that simple, and that is going to wrap up a short shift of CBJ in 30, presented by Tel Ohio Credit Union. Blue Jackets are going to try to make it 2 in a row when they go up against the Coyotes tonight, and again, try to guarantee themselves of a winning road trip. Get the 2 points tonight, and you guarantee that. So, a lot of goals, and I don't mean like pucks in the back of the net, goals, like things that you're shooting for. That's what they're shooting for here tonight. A win, 2 points, move on to Vegas and try for a sweep on the road. All right? First thing is first. Start the game ready to go. If the Blue Jackets can do that, I feel they can win this game and get exactly what they're looking for. That's going to do it for CBJ in 30, presented by Tel Ohio Credit Union. A short shift of today's show. Until tonight, I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.